YouTube friends and teachers and homeschoolers. This is Elizabeth with an S, and today we are going to talk about turning force on a horizontal axis. And the little activity that I have for this is called the Spinning Sardine. What you need for the Spinning Sardine is some scissors and paper and some height. So again, if you are allowing your students to cut out the paper, it needs to be 12 centimeters by 1.5 centimeters. That's about 4 3/4 inches by 5/8 of an inch. And this again is another good way to have students learn to do measurements, whether it's the metric system or the imperial system. So they need to cut out the strip, so it's going to look something like this. And then what they're going to do is they're going to cut 2 slits, not all the way across the paper, just slightly, 2 centimeters in, which is about 3/4 of an inch from the ends. So they're going to have slits like that, if you can see that there, and one there. And then I have my dotted line here because you're going to fold the slit in half. Once you do that, you then take the 2 ends that have the slit and you just kind of jam them together like that. And you have your spinning sardine. Now I've done this with regular paper, and I also have done this with craft paper as well. Just a little thicker paper. This is something that you can choose to do in your class or at home. You can try a variety of papers and see and time the fall of the spinning sardine and see what does the weight of the paper have to do with how quickly something spins and falls. Or you could try spinning it to a target and see if it lands on target and which heaviness of paper it gets to the target better. So those are just a couple of ideas. So what I want to do is show you how the spinning sardine works, and then we'll talk about the science behind the spinning sardine. Now hopefully you have already done the vertical axes activity, the helicopter, with the students. So the basics of the physics works the same way for the helicopter as it does for the spinning sardine. The difference is that because the most stable position for the sardine is horizontal, it spins horizontally this way rather than vertically that way. So some examples of this would be like a log rolling down a hill or a little kid rolling down a hill. It's much easier to roll down a hill sideways like a log than it is to roll head to heel to head to heel. So that's kind of an analogy that you can show the kids or let them try it if you have a hill and you're doing things safely. So what's happening here is that the 2 blades that form the tail of the sardine are bent at opposite angles with respect to the horizontal axis. So the horizontal axis runs straight through the sardine, and we have these tails that are kind of bent out at the same angle, so hence the slits there. Just the same way that we had the blades of the helicopter that were tilted at angles to allow for the vertical spin. A couple of things you can try to do with this besides the heaviness of the paper is to make a sardine that maybe is a bit wider than 1.5 centimeters and maybe a little thinner than 1.5 centimeters, and give that a try and let your students or your kids see which one spins faster, which one spins better, which one lands on a target. Those are all some different ways that you can modify the activity. A way to take this a little further, maybe with some older students, is to ask them what might happen if the tails of the sardine are not bent. Maybe tape them together like that and then give it a try and see what happens. Ask them before you do it, do they think it will it spin, or what might happen to it? So that's something that they could do sort of for a takeaway or for an extension activity. This again is related to physics and forces and rotation. One of the things that you can do with your children, because they might still get confused between horizontal and vertical axes, is something called the right hand rule. So you put your right hand like this, and basically the fingers of your right hand are curling to indicate the way that the object is going to turn, and the thumb of your right hand is pointing in the direction of the axis of rotation. So our helicopter, which was on a vertical axis, rotated around in the direction that my fingers are pointing. Our sardine, which is on a horizontal axis, spun in the direction that my fingers are pointing. So that's just a very simple little activity that you can do with your students. If you give them a whole bunch of maybe pictures and just have them do this, and they can determine, is it a horizontal axis or a vertical axis that the object will spin on. So that's what I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do like this channel and you want to get updated on new videos, please do subscribe. Please put comments in the link below, in the comment section below, if you have any activities that you'd like to see or any activities that you'd like to share. Hopefully we can come up with a really great bank of inexpensive, engaging activities that will help to illustrate science concepts for students. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you in the next video.